Hi, I'm Brad Dacus. Welcome to Faith and Law. Recently, I was able to speak briefly at a Christian Woodstock. It's called Bridgefest out in New Jersey on the coast. And I got to briefly share with them not only what Pacific Justice Institute does to serve them, but also to encourage them not to give up, not to be driven by fear, but by power, love, and discipline or sound mind that God gives us through faith in Christ. Now is not the time to be discouraged. Now is the time for us to boldly go forward. And I was so encouraged. The fact that there were about 10,000 people there boldly lifting up Jesus was such an encouragement, a reminder that we're not going it alone. So don't be discouraged, be encouraged, as I was at Bridgefest. Now, let's take a look at this trending viral video.
Okay, so we were denied boarding, myself, my 16-month-old son, my mother. They took our luggage on the plane, which has my thyroid medication, which I'll be very sick without, my mother's medication. They basically said tough luck. And they won't tell me exactly what I said, but what happened, and I will tell you what happened right now. I was speaking to one of the flight attendants, got their pronouns wrong. The other flight attendant didn't like it. I said, I'm really sorry. I'm not very versed with pronouns. I was holding my son. He was having a temper tantrum. I had the car seat on my back. I wasn't really focusing on anything except getting my son's car seat on the flight and getting him comfortable and safe, and him, because now it's his nap time. You can see he's kind of falling asleep. They're saying that like it's a hate crime that I did,
United.
that I might not even be able to ever fly United. We don't even know how we're going to get back today.
Folks, I don't know about you, but this is outrageous to me. Here this mother and her little baby want to get on the airlines, and because they didn't use the correct pronoun to define someone who was a flight attendant there, they're booted off the airline. United Airlines is not United Airlines. You know what they should call themselves? They should call themselves the Bigoted Airlines, because what they did was worse than Rosa Parks as far as I'm concerned. Rosa Parks, they wanted to put Rosa Parks in the back of a bus. Oh, they didn't put her in the back of the plane. No, they booted her off the plane because she did not use the right pronoun. That is to affirm a lie, something that's blasphemous against God, the holy and loving Creator. And Christians should not be expected to do that, much less treated like second-class citizens. And folks, you know what? United Airlines is not alone. Just recently, when I was flying on a flight, I was there at Southwest Airlines, the ticket gate. And there they had banners, posters about LGBTQ pride, not tolerance, but pride, boasting in it, taking pride in what they do to themselves and cutting off body parts to further transgender confusion. Folks, this is evil. And I just told them, I said, I understand that this is what Southwest Airlines stands for now. This is what you guys are about. But you're basically sending a message that people like me who believe in basic traditional marriage, the laws of nature, nature is God, that we're really not wanted. And yet there's nothing there promoting traditional marriage, even just recognizing traditional marriage, or those who believe in traditional marriage, the laws of nature and nature is God. So I just told him, I said, this really is very bigoted. And I'd greatly appreciate it if you showed tolerance and acceptance to everyone, because one-way tolerance, folks, is not tolerance. It's tyranny. I'd like to welcome to the show Sophia Laurie. Sophia has a podcast entitled This Is a Woman. She also, by the way, happens to be a soccer player at a college, Vanguard University. So she has some firsthand knowledge on this issue. Welcome to the show, Sophia. Tell me, what effect do you see these policies having on students today?
Yeah, these Title IX changes, I don't think a lot of society realizes how important Title IX is. This isn't just a sports issue. Actually, it wasn't even created to be a sports issue. It was just for equal opportunities in education. So this Title IX rewrite that the Biden administration is working on, it will not only take away those equal opportunities in sports, which by allowing males into female sports and vice versa, but we don't normally see it happening that way. It's also going to affect the locker rooms, the bathrooms on campus. It can affect the dorm rooms at colleges. People aren't recognizing the fact that males and females might have to be dormed together without the female's knowledge. She can show up to college, her first day of college, and now there's all of a sudden a man in a dress, and he's a fully intact male. He doesn't have to have anything removed. A male in a dress can now be in her dorm room without any pre-knowledge on that. So it's going to have a lot of effects. It doesn't just attack the sport issue. It attacks a lot of issues.
Okay, so I understand that right now the Biden administration backed off on their desire to change Title IX to force males to be able to compete in women's sports. However, I know some states, blue states predominantly, have passed laws to do just that, to force boys, teenage boys, to be able to compete in girls' sports and push out girls. So to what extent do you think we're going to see this continued where we have men basically pushing women out of their spaces that are traditionally protected for women?
Absolutely. We're already seeing that happen. If we don't put a stop to this now, there will no longer be women's sports. We're not going to see that exist anymore. We worked so hard to get to that. I mean, Title IX, it's 52 years old. For 52 years is we finally got that, to have women's sports, to have those equal opportunities in scholastic sports. And if we don't put a stop to this, we will no longer have that in existence. We're already seeing it happen, not just in blue states, but it is happening up and down the nation. We are seeing girls being injured. We are seeing girls just plain out quit their sports at 13, 14 years old because they don't want to have to deal with this. Something we don't talk about much is 92% of female executives in the work world, they played scholastic sports. They played at the collegiate level. There's so much more to sports than just winning a game. You learn so much from it, and that's all going to go away if we keep advancing this way.
To what extent do you think that young Americans are buying into this ideology, or are they saying enough is enough?
Yeah, at that level, we're seeing a mixed balance. We are seeing a lot of girls stand up and push back against this because it's affected their lives now. I'm hearing again stories from 13 and 14-year-olds saying they didn't know what to do because in their PE class, there was boys changing in their locker rooms. So we see a lot of girls pushing back, but a lot of girls are scared and silent because of social media. Right now, what the younger generation is experiencing is social media telling them they need to be inclusive and loving and welcoming, even though allowing boys into girls' spaces is actually exclusivity because you're excluding girls from those private spaces and those opportunities. So it's a weird balance. A lot of girls are scared to speak up, but that's why we keep speaking out against it, hoping that courage will beget courage.
What do you feel females can do right now to protect their rights in public schools?
What we're going to have to see happen from those female students is them put their foot down and say, I'm not okay with this. I'm going to speak out against this. I'm going to post on social media and say I'm not okay with this, because they'll find out there's a lot of other girls on social media that are going to say, thank you for speaking out. I agree with you. I'm on your side. They just need that one person they know to do it first. So be that person to speak out first. And as much as it breaks my heart to tell girls to sit out of their game, to not play or not run in an event, not swim in an event, if there is a male next to you, you have to not. Because if we're not willing to give up one game right now, if we're not willing to give up one event, we're going to lose it all. And again, I played college soccer, so I'm a retired athlete now, and there's nothing more I would love than to have one more game back with my teammates. So it breaks my heart to ask those girls to sit out, but we have to put our foot down.
Sophia, thank you so much for being on this show, and keep up the great work on that podcast of yours. Well, folks, as I said before, we at Pacific Justice Institute, we're in the fight. We have worked successfully to get states, not one, not two, but a half a dozen, to pass laws that protect girls in the locker rooms and to protect girls from having to compete with big biological males. This is a project, it's an ongoing work of Pacific Justice Institute. And folks, without question, we would not be able to do this and have the impact we're having across America with regard to the state legislatures but for your support. And I want to thank all of you out there that are choosing to support the work of Pacific Justice Institute. We're a nonprofit 501c3 organization, so your support is tax deductible. And if you'd like to join our team in any amount, just go to our website. It's right here on the screen, pji.org, pji.org. Let's get out of the bleachers. Let's get on the field. Join us. And together, we can make a difference.
Well, they're in the trenches and they're fighting, and PGI is on the front lines for the battle for freedom and liberty. They've been doing so much to equip pastors across the country and to really fight for the values that have made this country so great. Honored to be supportive of PGI.
We're living in a time when Christians are constantly under assault for their beliefs in the marketplace. And if there's not someone to advocate for them and help them with the legal necessities of defending themselves, they're going to get fired. They have no recourse. Most people don't have the resources to go hire a lawyer. It would deplete everything they own. And most lawyers, quite frankly, across the country don't deal in religious liberty issues.
Well, we're living in some very difficult days in America where basic freedoms and especially religious liberty is under attack. And that's one of the reasons why Pacific Justice Institute is so vitally important to the future of this nation. What a great group of lawyers, first-class, top-rate lawyers who are willing to stand up for freedom and stand up for our American citizens under attack.
Yeah, they can support, they can follow, they can pray. We need more organizations like PJI, and I could tell you that being in the front lines, there's not enough people that are actually in the trenches doing the difficult but tough work, and that's exactly why this organization is so critical.
One of the most incredible things about Pacific Justice Institute is that they do pro bono work. And what does that mean? Well, it means the rest of us have a responsibility. We've got to stand up and provide financial incentives and financial opportunities for these attorneys to get out there and do the fighting. And that's one of the reasons why we have Pacific Justice Institute attorneys on my national radio show, because we want to let people know, hey, there's a need here. These folks are doing very important work, and they're doing very important, successful work as well. And that's why they need our support.
When a Christian is targeted for his or her beliefs, it affects every believer in America. This idea that, well, it didn't happen to me, well, you're next. And when Pacific Justice Institute takes on a case, it's not just that one individual that they really are representing, because a legal precedent may be established from that will protect 1 million believers who could be in the same position for the exact same issue.
Now, let's take a look at what the Word of God says on how we should be responding to these challenges that we're facing today. Let's first take a look at Mark chapter 12, verse 29 through 31. It says, quote, "The most important one," answered Jesus, "is this: Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind and with all your strength. The second is this: love your neighbor as yourself. There is no commandment greater than these." This is so important because this reminds us as Christians of how we would want the world to deal with us if we were lost. These people out there pushing these radical LGBTQ and specifically transgender agendas, victimizing girls in our society. You know what? They're not trying to do evil for evil's sake. They're just blind. They're lost. They need Jesus. And so ask yourself, how would you want to be approached if you were lost and spiritually blind? Would you want someone screaming in your face? Would that help? Or would you want someone lovingly giving you the truth, not just placating you? I talked to a Christian once who said, yeah, we should just refer to them by different pronouns and just show them love. It's not loving to affirm something that leads to death. But at the same time, it's not loving to give them truth in a way that doesn't display the love of Christ in the process. So we need to smile. We need to love people. And one great way of doing that, especially when we're frustrated, is to pray for them. Pray for those who persecute you. Pray for those who are lost. And by praying for them, at least I've noticed this, I'm able to start to see them as God sees them, with love, grace, and compassion, but also a boldness and courage to share the truth that will set them free. In Romans chapter 12, verse 1 and 2, talks about how important it is for us in our own lives to be transformed and recognize the power of God's transformation no matter where we are in life and no matter where we are in our beliefs and or disbeliefs. It says, "And so, dear brothers and sisters, I plead with you to give your bodies to God because of all he has done for you." What has he done for us? He died on the cross. He gave us forgiveness, salvation, eternal life. "Let them be a living and holy sacrifice, the kind he will find acceptable. This is truly the way to worship him. Don't copy the behavior and customs of this world, but let God transform you into a new person by changing the way you think. Then you will learn to know God's will for you, which is good and pleasing and perfect." This world is trying to indoctrinate us, to compromise our worldview. Instead of us influencing them, we're often silent, we're intimidated. And what happens? Then we're influenced by them. Whether it's what we watch on television, it's what we see in the airports, it's what our children are brainwashed with in our public schools. We need to understand not to allow ourselves to be brainwashed. But what do? We don't just shut out the evil exposure, but we also affirmatively take in the Word of God. We fellowship with believers. We're part of a church body. We attend church. We commune with God. We talk to God. By doing this, we allow God to transform us. And that transformation process, folks, is something that takes a lifetime. It's called sanctification. And it's something that we should embrace and something that we should look forward to as God, in his love and mercy, in his gentleness and forbearance, transforms us to be more and more like Jesus. And in the process, transforms those around us who see and witness what God's doing in our lives as we share the truth with them with boldness, courage, and love. And with that, folks, no matter what we face in society today, no matter how great the challenge, always, always keep the faith.
Religious freedom, medical freedom, free speech, censorship issues. I think people on the right are going to get hammered in 2024, and that's why it's so important that we have representation. And sometimes the ACLU gets it right, but I met somebody at Turning Point USA from the Pacific Justice Institute, Brad Dacus. How are you, sir?
Oh, doing great, David. It was great meeting you at that wonderful event. And I don't know about you, but I left it all the more encouraged to see all those young people excited about our country, our freedom, our liberties, and willing to do something about it. And of course, we at PJI, we've pledged to defend every single one of those students, every single one of those Turning Point USA chapters all across America without charge.
It was definitely encouraging to see so many like-minded younger people, but a lot of older generations showed up as well to support the young people and are concerned about our country. And it's, you're going to be in high demand in 2024. Tell us about what the Pacific Justice Institute does.
Yeah, we will be in high demand.
I might be calling you.
Yes. Well, you know, we defend religious freedom for everyone, parents' rights across the country against, you know, wacky school districts or zealous social workers to take kids wrongfully. We defend the sanctity of human life, so the preborn or even people who are in the hospital who are told that are, you know, their loved ones are told, you know, pull the plug, and the person's not dead and they're still there. So we have a lot of interesting cases that in the past I just never would have dreamed we would reach this point in our society on all three of those levels, dealing with religious freedom, parents' rights, and sanctity of life. What makes us sort of unique is that, you know, of course, we do our work without charge. Every single one of our cases without charge. But we don't cherry pick our cases, so we don't just go for the, the high profile cases, just a few cases here and there. Our goal is to make sure that everyone gets help, that no church, no family, no business, owner, is left on the side of the road. We go to bat for them, and all without charge. And we have the largest network, the largest number of offices. We have 29 in 29 states. We have 36 offices coast to coast, doing all the work without charge, making sure that no one's left on the side of the road. So we're very, very busy, and our cases are increasing dramatically. We have, I think, over 255 cases in active litigation right now alone.
Wow, and you have a very high success rate. Tell us about that.
Yeah, we do. We really do. And part of that is, I know, it's God's grace and favor, but a lot of it's also hard work, and not doing C-grade work, but doing A-grade work when it comes to our doing our research on our cases, on our clients, preparing the complaints, the briefing, et cetera, the strategy. All our attorneys work together. So all combined, our case victory rate is better than 9 out of 10. So more than 90% of our cases we prevail in for our clients, and we do it completely without charge. It's pretty incredible, but we do our homework. We do excellent work for our clients, and it takes a lot of work to get that kind of high success rate.
Yeah, there was a couple on the ground that I met. I gave them your phone number. Hopefully they contacted your offices. The woman didn't want to vax. Now it's 3 years later. She needs a double lung transplant, and quick. And in Phoenix, and all the hospitals have turned her down. So is that someone like that? Is that someone that you can help?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, we're, I think, leading the charge across the country in those kinds of cases. Where out of our Detroit office, the person who heads that up, Dr. David Peters, is not only an attorney, but he's also a doctor and has great expertise. And we've already seen the success. We've saved 2 individuals from a hospital, I think it was called Trinity Hospital, where they were told that, you have to get the vax or you die. Basically, they were being put on medical death row. Wow. It was outrageous. And we stepped in, we prevailed. Then we had to sue University of Michigan Medical Center. We prevailed there as well for 2 individuals critically in need of organ transplants. So we're really stepping up. We're taking these cases on all across the country. It's literally a matter of life and death as we move forward.
Wow. Very interesting stuff. Now, what separates you? I know we were joking earlier about the ACLU. Sometimes they get it right, but what separates you from that? Are you committed to like conservative principles? What's the difference?
Yeah, and I want to give the ACLU credit from where they first started. They did some really good work. They really did, for free speech in particular. But the ACLU has changed dramatically since its founding and formation. In fact, 2 of our attorneys are ex-ACLU attorneys, partly because they became Christians and they have a different worldview and perspective of liberty and religious freedom. So we at Pacific Justice Institute, we can agree with them at times on some free speech cases, perhaps, not as much as in the past, because they're not as in favor of free speech as they used to be. They're much more selective as to what kind of speech is protective. Is it leftist speech? They're real quick to defend that, but not as quick to defend people who have a traditional speech, religious speech, or convictions that are not a part of the progressive movement. So that's one way area we're different. We defend free speech, truly free speech. We're also don't believe in allowing the Establishment Clause to be misinterpreted. They're real big on using the Establishment Clause to create a society where we have freedom from religion. Back in law school at the University of Texas, where I went, I had a professor who was an ACLU attorney. And he used the phrase just flippantly. He said, the freedom from religion clause. And I said, whoa, wait a minute, professor. Isn't it actually freedom of religion? He goes, yes, that's right. So we have a different perspective in terms of the Establishment Clause. The Establishment Clause is to protect institutions and people of faith, not to persecute them and to treat them and their speech differently.
So what about, we have a few more minutes, but really quick, like Governor Bashar in Kentucky I think he was writing down people's license plate numbers using the police when they were attending church during COVID. Is that a type of issue that you would represent?
Oh, yes, particularly if that information
Civil liberties?
Oh, yeah, civil liberties. Oh, we've defended countless numbers of churches who were shut down. In fact, we're the ones who, by God's grace, were able to get a case to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court, with an emergency injunction, voted 6-3, ordering Governor Gavin Newsom of California open those churches and synagogues now. And he did. It was a dramatic victory that really helped turn the tide.
I remember that.
On the oppression.
And in about a minute and a half, tell us about parental rights issues, especially in California. Big victories, Chino Hills, Escondido, Orange County, Temecula, right?
Oh, yes. We've been going to bat for parents on their rights to have information against in defending school districts doing the right thing. But we have lawsuits in New Jersey, for example, defending school districts are being told, you have to lie to parents. You have to use pronouns. And don't let the parents know you're using pronouns that are encouraging confusion in these little children. We're taking these all across the country, especially in places like California and New York, and we do it all without charge. It's a huge battle, but we've got to take it on.
They are crazy in New Jersey. I'm in New York. It's just as bad, but I think in Jersey it might be worse, actually. The school boards, 80% of the parents support these pornographic books in the schools that show up. And the people who show up, they're in the minority that are fighting. They're trying to protect the innocence of their children. It's all about preserving the innocence of our children, right?
Right. Oh, exactly. Public schools have become, in the eyes of many, spiritual death camps for a reason. And they have become very dangerous in many, if not most places across the country, particularly on the East Coast and West Coast. We're taking every single one of them on as needed. Yeah,
we see Disney suffering the consequences of their agenda. So people are fighting back. Brad, in 30 seconds, tell our viewers where they can find you.
You bet. If they'd like to get our case updates, our Legal Insider newsletter, or they want to support us with a donation and become a part of our team with a tax-deductible donation, just go to pji.org. That's P for Pacific, J for Justice, I for Institute.org, pji.org.
All right. Maybe I'll see you at CPAC and other events. I hope to have you back. Happy New Year to you and your family, Brad. Thank you.
You too. All the best, Dave. Take care.
Yes, you too. Brad Dacus, founder and president of the Pacific Justice Institute. I want to bring you a message from our supporters, Switch to USA. Look at the